Now, from Wish TV, your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics, the premier show on politics here in the state of Indiana. First up today, two new battlegrounds on abortion. The first, several groups want a federal judge to throw out Indiana's newest abortion laws. One bans telehealth in abortion discussions. The other is the abortion reversal law. It would require doctors to tell women getting drug-induced abortions about a disputed treatment to stop the abortion. That lawsuit came just 24 hours after the Supreme Court agreed to hear a case from Mississippi. It bans nearly all abortions after 15 weeks and could pose a key challenge to the Roe v. Wade ruling from 1973. And let's welcome in Hannah Brass-Greer, Chief Legal Counsel for Planned Parenthood. Hannah, thank you for taking some time for us this morning.
Sure, thank you for having me.
Your group is part of a lawsuit against the new Indiana abortion reversal bill. Explain to our audience why.
Yeah, absolutely. This session is like many other sessions in Indiana where the legislature and the governor have decided to enact yet more restrictions on abortion. This year includes what you called the so-called reversal, medication abortion reversal bill. And what we know about this is it's junk science. There is no such thing as abortion reversal. It is not based in medicine, is not based in science. And in fact, it's the only area of medicine where the state is requiring medical providers to share inaccurate and unsafe information with their patients. We would not see that anywhere else. Yet Indiana, instead of focusing on increasing access to care, has decided to enact this legislation.
So I want to get into the scientific basis of this because you say it's not based on science. So explain to our audience, what do you mean by that?
Well, there is no reputable medical or scientific organization that supports this so-called reversal of medication abortion. And in fact, the one study where researchers tried to study it, 3 women ended up in the hospital with severe hemorrhaging, and they stopped the research immediately because it was not safe. So we now have the legislature in Indiana and the governor requiring providers to share this information with their patients, this information that is unsafe, not based in medicine, not based in science. And that's why we're challenging this, because it's unethical for our providers to have to do that, and it's unconstitutional.
This isn't only happening here, it's happening across the country, this conversation about abortion. The Supreme Court said that it will hear the Mississippi law that bans nearly all abortions after 15 weeks into pregnancy, I believe. This will be the first major abortion case before the new 6-3 conservative court. Do you believe the case could possibly overturn Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Look, this is not a surprise to us. This is something that we've been sounding the alarm on for decades, frankly. These attacks on access to abortion have only increased in recent years. Just this legislative session alone across the country in almost all 50 states, there have been more than 500 restrictions on reproductive health care. And this is just sort of the latest in this long-term plan that anti-choice legislatures and activists have had, again, for decades since Roe versus Wade. Their latest is now to see what this newly composed Supreme Court will do. And we have now this 15-week ban that goes against 50 years of Supreme Court precedent. So if they decide to uphold this law, we will see states like Indiana have even more severely restricted access to abortion if there exists any access at all after a case like this.
And then what happens?
And then, we do what we always do, which is we work with our patients and with our communities and our partners to get patients the care they need. If states like Indiana or the Supreme Court says that states can restrict access to abortion completely, that does not eliminate the need for abortion. Patients need access to that care, and we will do what we always do and work to be able to help them get that care.
Hannah Brass-Greer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's welcome in Courtney Milbank now, General Counsel for Indiana Right to Life. Courtney, good to see you. We've talked about the abortion reversal bill that is being challenged in court right now. Why is this bill, in your opinion, important for Right to Life, and what does it accomplish?
So the bill is very important for continuing Indiana's long legacy of protecting the unborn and empowering women. And one of the things, specifically the abortion pill reversal, what that's doing is giving women all of the options, all of the facts surrounding the abortion decision, so that if they later regret their decision, they are aware of an option to potentially reverse that process. So just so you know, the way that it works is when a woman does a medical abortion, there's actually two different pills that are taken. So if a woman decides after the first pill is taken that she regrets that decision, she can then contact her doctor. She's been informed of this process, and there's actually evidence that suggests that if given progesterone, that can actually stop the abortion process. And this has actually been effective. It's not just an idea or a theory. It's saved over 2,000 babies already and boasts a 68% success rate. So that's just one part of this bill that is obviously being challenged, but it's very important for Indiana Right to Life because it's giving women all of the facts in order to make that decision, and that if they regret their decision, that they have an option to fix that.
Some critics say that this will help spread misinformation. Your response?
Well, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't speak to the science of the specific process, but I do know that it's been supported by many, many doctors and those in the scientific community. And as I said before, it's actually been effective already. It's not a guesswork or this might happen. It's already worked for over 2,000 babies. And a 68% success rate is pretty high. No one is saying that it's going to be 100% effective, but if 68% of babies can be saved for women that regret that decision, women should have that option.
So the Supreme Court said that it will hear the Mississippi law that bans nearly all abortions after 15 weeks into pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Are you encouraged that the justices will hear it? And do you believe that this case specifically could overturn Roe versus Wade?
Well, okay, so that's a little bit of a multi-part question. So yeah, you're correct that the Supreme Court has granted cert on this case. They've only granted it for one specific issue. The question presented is whether all pre-viability abortion restrictions are unconstitutional. So whether this could be a vehicle for them overturning Roe v. Wade is probably unlikely. It's entirely possible. We don't know what the justices, you can't know why they're granting cert on something. You typically don't even know until the opinion comes down. So it's entirely possible that they could do that, but it's probably unlikely given the specific issue and specific question that they granted cert on. What we see is probably more likely is that this gives the court the opportunity to allow states to implement more reasonable regulations and restrictions before viability.
I just want to push back real quickly because we're running out of time. Justice Thomas has said that he is willing to overturn precedent on this. Your response to that?
You know, it's entirely possible, and I'm excited to see what the court does. We would obviously love to see Roe v. Wade overturned, but we're also excited to see what the justices do with this, and that there may be an option for some more reasonable restrictions, even if Roe v. Wade is not overturned.
Courtney Milbank, thank you for taking some time this morning.
Thank you so much.
Governor Eric Holcomb says Indiana will end the federal expanded unemployment programs in the state. His explanation on why and what it means for more than 150,000 Hoosiers who are out of work. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics. Indiana will end its use of expanded federal unemployment benefits. Governor Eric Holcomb made that announcement this week. Starting June 19th, Indiana will not include the extra $300 per week federal pandemic unemployment payments. It will also end the expansion of unemployment benefits beyond the normal 26 weeks. And gig workers, contractors, and people who are self-employed will no longer be eligible for unemployment.
Anyone that's on that's seeking unemployment benefits is eligible to work, and there's a lot of work options. You might say like never before. So we know of 116,000 unfilled job positions all over the state of Indiana. Every day I'm hearing from business owners who say, I'm only posting half of what I could hire, right? So we're restricting growth by keeping people on the sidelines. So I put it on my shoulders and take responsibility for making sure that we're giving folks access and awareness to the opportunity that is there.
And let's welcome in State Senator Eddie Melton, the assistant Democratic leader in the Senate. So the governor says that he believes now is the right time to stop Indiana's use of the expanded federal unemployment benefits, as you very well know. Your response to him?
Well, I think the pandemic has shown us that we need all of the assistance we need as a state and across the entire nation. So the aid that the federal government has provided us would have been at no expense of the state of Indiana, number one. But number two, this pandemic has shined a light on a variety of issues that we already know that existed in the state in terms of where we have low wages across the entire state. And that's one of the focus that myself and our entire caucus have been working on in terms of raising wages to make it a livable wage in the state of Indiana.
So we've heard, to your point, stories of businesses, though, around the state who say they simply can't hire enough people right now because of the higher benefits. Do you believe people are deciding not to work because of the checks that they're getting from unemployment?
Well, I haven't seen any serious facts or data. I think that's a narrative that's been out there. I think that's something that has to be fully discussed in the conversation and review any tangible information that proves that that's the case. But the case that we do know that exists is that individuals work a significant amount of hours and still struggle to pay for childcare, still struggle to pay for their rent and utilities and a variety of other necessary means, even before the pandemic. So this conversation has to go further and deeper. Even when we look at the current unemployment rate, we know that we have a very low unemployment rate, but we still have a lot of people that's not in work in totality across the entire state.
To your point about child care and people not being paid what they think they're worth, how do you fix that?
Well, when you look at many communities live in a child care desert where they don't have actual child care facilities. Communities don't have adequate transportation to get folks to drop their children off if they don't have a car. So all of these things play a factor in the everyday lives of Hoosiers. Sometimes as policymakers, we encourage folks that are not typically looking through the lens of the everyday person to figure out the issues that everyday people have to endure and have to go through. So we can craft legislation such as raising the minimum wage, such as making childcare more affordable and accessible, and transportation as well.
In your opinion, what more should the state be doing right now to maybe help the workers train for those 116,000 job openings that the governor's been talking about?
Well, again, we have to start at an early age. We have to make sure that access to those that are in high school have access to high quality training programs. We have to ensure that those that are transitioning back into the workforce are ready and prepared, especially those that may be transitioning home from prison. And individuals that are our veterans as well, making sure that they have the skills that they need. Workforce development and training is programs that, yes, we do have that in the state of Indiana. But at the end of the day, the wages are the key elements of people getting folks to work in this state. We're looking at a long-term sustainable way. I used the legislation that I had this session that would have gradually increased the minimum wage over time. So starting from $7.25, moving us to $10 an hour. And over the years, over the next 5 years, getting us to $15 an hour. I think that's a reasonable request when we're trying to make sure that every Hoosier has a fair shot at society. One
more question for you. Do you think by doing that, that would get people to apply, more people to apply for these open positions?
Absolutely. If you make wages more competitive to other industries and other states, I think that's going to be an extreme assistance to make sure folks look for jobs that's going to help them put food on the table and have the transportation and the child care that they need.
Fair enough. Good conversation. State Senator Eddie Melton, thank you so much for taking some time again, sir.
Thank you.
Take All Indiana Politics on the go with you. Download our podcast now. Part of the All Indiana Podcast Network and allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday as we welcome in Democrat Kip 2 and former Marion County Republican Chairman Tom John. Gentlemen, good to see you. We got a lot to get to this morning, so let's jump right in. We'll start with the governor's decision to end expanded unemployment benefits here in Indiana. Kip, I'll start with you on this one. We heard Senator Melton. Are Republicans, in your opinion, wrong when they say Hoosiers would rather collect unemployment than go back to work?
Well, I find it absurd and insulting, as a matter of fact. The problem is low wages and childcare deserts, not laziness. I just don't understand politicians whose first instinct is to insult their constituents, take away their lifeline, and then move on down the road. It seems to me that what they ought to be doing, this is free money from the government, from the federal government, that we are turning down, and $1 billion worth of help to people who need it the most. And what they need is more help. What they need is better living wages, and we're basically telling them we're going to make it even harder on you. We're going to take away the $300 extra, and we're going to make you go through this bureaucratic thing if you really want the $300 or if you need the $300, and it's not really solving the problem. We have low unemployment, we have low wages, and I used to think that my friends on the other side thought that free market economics are what we ought to be following, and in this instance, free market economics are telling them you got to pay people more if you want them to work.
To that point, Tom, wouldn't free market principles say if employers did pay more, they'll get the workers that they need?
Well, I suppose that's correct. But the fact is that you're distorting the market right now when somebody can essentially make $15 an hour to stay at home. And we have employers that need people, and they may be paying 15, they may be paying 20, but there's also opportunity cost that goes along with it. And you're distorting the market, and we have literally employers that are just dying to get people in, but they can't pay $25 an hour. And in fact, that's not going to be the going rate in a year. These are programs that made sense for a while. And like so many, sometimes people want to keep government programs along past their shelf life, so to speak. And in this case, Governor Holcomb said, we're past the emergency. People can be vaccinated. People can be out there. And we need to get the economy going for the next 10 years and not keep limping along utilizing government assistance from checks that the government continues to write that it can't pay for.
Kip, your response to that before we move on?
Yeah, I guess my biggest response is if people in Tom's party wasn't full of anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers, we'd be further along. The problem with Indiana is we have less than 40% of the people who've gotten the vaccine. And so you've got Hoosiers out there afraid to go back to work, in part because we don't have, there's not enough safety out there, and they can't get their kids can't get to school, so they can't leave their kids at home. The problem comes down to we need leaders to make sure that people get the vaccine and we can get back to normal. We're not back to normal yet with only 40% of the population vaccinated.
The numbers are getting better, though, Kip.
That's good. I mean, it's Governor DeWine in Ohio has done a lottery where someone can win $1 million to go get vaccinated. And that's actually worked. So we need to be creative about it.
We have 90 seconds left, gentlemen. Quickly, let's talk about abortion right now. Tom, I'll start with you here quickly. Mississippi case, the one that we were talking about just moments ago, the one that overturns Roe, do you think that that's going to actually happen, or what's next?
Well, it's hard to tell. Anytime the court takes a case under consideration, obviously you only need 4 justices to actually want to bring it in. And oftentimes a group of the justices that may want to bring it in and look at it may not even have the same opinion for why they want to look at it. So I think you just have to kind of wait and see what's there. Obviously, it could have long-term import, or it could really just be nibbling around the edges of the issue and may not really change the law at all.
Almost out of time. Kip, quickly, will Roe be in danger here?
Roe is definitely in danger. I mean, the entire reason that 2 justices are on the Supreme Court and where we are today is because Republicans want to overturn Roe. They may rue the day they overturn Roe.
Gentlemen, thank you for taking some time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll be back. Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. You can also find our brand new All Indiana Politics podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network at wishtv.com. Have a great rest of your weekend.
You're watching Wish TV, Indiana's only statewide TV news network.